Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser.
Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. The Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District was formed in February 1954 when St. Louis voters approved the charter plan of the district. MSD is charged with management of wastewater and stormwater in the city of St. Louis and about 4/5 of St. Louis County. Their service area includes approximately 525 square miles. The district serves more than 420,000 residential and commercial customers. Our guest today is Brian Hoelscher, the executive director. Mr. Hoelscher is a professional engineer with more than 30 years of engineering and management experience. The executive director is responsible for overseeing all district operations and managing all financial, leadership, and regulatory responsibilities, including the multi-billion-dollar, multi-decade capital improvement program. Mr. Hoelscher began his career with the district in May 1995 as manager of construction. Since then, he's been the assistant director of construction management, assistant director of engineering, and the director of engineering. He replaced Jeff Theerman as executive director in March 2013. Today we're going to talk about MSDs Project Clear, wastewater and stormwater management, and the 2016 through 2020 rate proposal. Brian Hoelscher, welcome to Conversation.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I guess the two main things that MSD does is wastewater and stormwater, taking it from homes and businesses someplace else, right?
That is correct, yes.
That's the main function of what you do.
Yes, sir.
How come it costs so much?
Well, it costs what it costs. If you take a look at...
And that's really more of a joke.
Sure,
because,
no, I understand,
I mean, really,
but I think really, I do want to respond to that.
Yeah, but it does cost. And so I want you to let people know what it is that MSD is doing.
Yeah, it does cost money. I think under our current rate proposal, folks will pay an average of $40 a month for wastewater at the end of 2016 before we look at this new proposal. People throughout the country are paying between $15 and $135 a month for wastewater. It just depends where you're at. Big driving factors depends on where you're at with regard to the federal government and the actions they're taking throughout the country. As far as wastewater is a pretty minor amount. You'll find in our rate proposal that the way stormwater is paid for now, primarily through taxes, is less than 1% of your property tax bill. It is really a very small amount that we look for the cost of doing stormwater compared to the other services that somebody has to pay for.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is wastewater? What is stormwater?
Yeah, MSD's two utilities. So the wastewater is what goes down your drains, whether it's the sinks, toilets, washing machines, showers. It goes down into the pipes. Those pipes go to a treatment plant. We treat the water and meet regulatory requirements to make sure what we discharge is safe to the discharged environment. That's the wastewater side.
And when you say discharge, this goes into a river or?
Yeah, MSD has 7 plants. They discharge either the Missouri River, the Mississippi River, and we do have 2 plants that still discharge to the Merrimack River.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then stormwater.
Then stormwater is the water hitting the ground and going somewhere. In some places it will hit the yards and it'll go immediately to creeks and streams. In other places, especially in the more urbanized area, there are storm sewers and inlets and manholes that will take the water that doesn't soak into the ground or stay on the property. And it'll transmit it through the developed area, eventually discharging it to the same creeks and streams that it went to before man was even here in St. Louis. But it is a result of a system that's needed because of the urbanization of the St. Louis area.
Have you always had responsibility for rainwater?
We've always had responsibility for stormwater where it depends. In 1954, when we were first created, MSD's boundaries went the city of St. Louis and out to about I-270. In 1977, we expanded our boundaries to what they are now, but only for sanitary services. In 1989, we took over stormwater from about 270 out west to where our boundaries are now. Mm-hmm. So it's as the area developed and as the area has grown, MSD has always had responsibility for stormwater management of some kind, depending on the growth of the district.
Okay, so now there are stormwater and wastewater, and they're supposed to be two separate pipes, right? Two separate systems.
In some places they are. If you're in the city of St. Louis or the 20 square miles near the city, it's a little different. If you're outside that, they're two separate pipes. There's a sanitary sewer pipe and a stormwater pipe. If you live in the city or the 20 square miles that are closest to the city, they have what are called combined sewers. During dry weather, those sewers act just like the sanitary sewers in the county. Dry weather, wastewater flow goes into the pipes, goes to the treatment plants, and gets treated. When it rains, it mixes with stormwater, and we have large pipe outlets that discharge either the Mississippi River or River to Pear. And so it's mostly stormwater with a small mix of wastewater that discharges to the creeks and streams.
Mm-hmm. And the reason that St. Louis is different is because those pipes were built a long time ago before they thought to segregate them.
Yeah, the city's different, and it's like many cities. At one time, everybody's waste went into creeks and streams. Then it was said, well, let's enclose those creeks and streams. That's where you have the combined sewers with both wastewater and stormwater going through those sewers. Now, what MSD has now is during dry weather, we actually intercept those flows before they go to the rivers and streams and treat them. But when there's a big storm, these flows still mix and they still discharge to the local creeks and streams.
Now, this overflow, this is what caused some difficulty a few years ago where people were concerned that stormwater mixing with it during heavy storms with wastewater and then it hitting the rivers, that this was like a violation of EPA rules. Is that right?
Right. There's two sets of rules we have to be concerned here with in St. Louis. First of all, let's take the county. We have the separate stormwater pipe and the separate sanitary pipe. We have places where stormwater still gets into that sanitary pipe through leaks. One of the biggest problems we have are people's roofs and downspouts connected to the sanitary sewer instead of going to the stormwater system. That causes the pipes to fill up and causes them to overflow. Those are illegal. They also cause basement backups. And so we have to get rid of those two issues in the kind of in the county area. In the city and near county in the combined sewers, you don't have to get rid of the overflows. They are actually permitted. They operate properly and they operate such that they maintain the water quality of the receiving stream. But we do have to abate some of the flows that go in there in order to maintain the water quality. So we won't eliminate them completely in the city and near county, but we will greatly reduce the amount of overflow that goes in the creeks and streams.
Mm-hmm. So, but there was an environmental group that got upset that there was wastewater that was hitting the rivers and streams and wanted that stopped. And then next thing you knew, you were involved with the federal government.
True. The sequence wasn't quite that way.
But that's sort of the shortcut way of looking
that's
at it.
where we got here. There's a lot of other ways we could have gotten here, and we're probably going to be exactly in the place we're in now, no matter what happened, whether the environmental group came or not. MSD, for a long time, its sole purpose is to meet those regulations we just talked about. The EPA had been talking with us, gathering information. The strategy at the federal government level, Department of Justice, is to sue cities to make sure they have a schedule in order to meet these rules. We were on the path with the federal government having those kind of discussions. The environmental group stepping in probably just speeded it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. We'd still be where we are now, whether they did that or not. But they did speed the process up.
So you needed to reach a certain goal, you just said, of clean water going into the rivers and streams.
Right.
And it costs money.
Yes, sir.
And so that's why I recall just a couple of years ago, I think before 2010, it was like about $24, $25 per household. Then it went to $29 per household. And now I think it's up to like $36 a house, something in that neighborhood. And then you mentioned that it'll be $40 in 2016.
Yes, sir.
Do people understand? Do you think that you have made it plain to people why this bill is going up, not just inflation, that it has more to do with engineering that's required?
I think so. We've done an awful lot of communication, whether it's press, face-to-face, going out and having meetings with the community and explain it to them. It is always a hard conversation with MSD. We understand our industry is a lot of I flush and forget it, and I don't think about it anymore. People are much more up in arms when their electricity goes out or when their gas goes out. It's just a harder thing to think about. And relative to other things, it really isn't that expensive. So it's hard sometimes to get interest in what's going on. But it is a lot of money, and it is a huge investment that we have to make in order to meet all these regulatory requirements. And we try best we can to make sure everybody understands what this is. Invariably, there is always a vote required, and so there's always education we do prior to any kind of vote to help people understand what you're voting for and what the consequences are, whether you vote yes or no for any particular ballot issue.
So before we go to voting for anything, let's try to understand what it is. What is it that you're working? You have a multi-decade plan of engineering that you're working on. So starting with 2014, 2015, what are you doing and where are you going?
Okay, so and the result of the action you mentioned earlier was a consent decree, and that's a legally binding document we have with the Department of Justice and EPA that says here's the work you got to do within 23 years. And the total cost of that program right now is priced at about $4.7 billion. So right now the main efforts we're doing is in the separate sewer area where the stormwater and sanitary are separate, is getting the stormwater out of the sanitary sewer that shouldn't be there. That's the main efforts right now.
And you said something about people are putting their downspouts from.
Yeah,
they got to knock that off.
There's a lot of things.
And you'll do that for free, right?
We'll do that for free.
You'll come in there and.
There's some of the public side, but what happened when St. Louis developed, we had talked about the combined sewers, when they had this changeover of let's now build separate sewers, some of the homes didn't get built that way. They got built the old way where they assumed everything was going down one pipe. So we have a lot of locations where folks downspouts from homes or backyard drains are in the sanitary sewer. The cheapest way for us to solve the problem of the overflows and the basement backups is for us to pay for that fix. We'll disconnect the pipes, make sure the stormwater goes in the right place, take the pressure off the sanitary sewer. It's 4 to 5 times cheaper than us making the system bigger. And so in that separate area, that is the primary driver. That's the primary thing we're doing to resolve the overflows in the separate system. In the combined sewer system, it's somewhat the same. We're trying to prevent the stormwater from going in as much as it does right now. It's allowed to and it's supposed to, but the more we mitigate, the less overflows we have. In some cases, though, that won't be enough, and we'll build large storage facilities, primarily tunnels, where we'll store those overflows till the rain's gone, then we'll run those flows to the plant. So you kind of treat them a little different in those two ways.
Now your wastewater pipes, they're sufficient to handle wastewater?
For the most part. When it is not raining, unless the sewer gets blocked because of somebody splashes grease or a pipe fails, we do not have overflows. It is just wet weather that causes the issue.
Right. So it's rainwater that you're trying to keep out of the wastewater pipes.
That is the big one.
And that's what causes the pressure that all of a sudden shoots up in the basement when you have all this extra water.
If you look at our Project Clear website, you'll see the first goal is to get the rain out. And that is the cheapest and easiest way to address most of the issues in our system.
Okay. And to get the rain out, you're doing what?
Well, again, in the separate areas, we're trying to get rid of the connections from folks' roofs and drains, from backyard drains. We do have places where, for whatever reason, storm inlets were connected to sanitary sewers. Sometimes groundwater will get in, so we're taking care of those issues. If you're in the city or near a county, oftentimes you'll see us building basins or building green infrastructure, or eventually having to build tunnels where we can't capture the water. Again, always trying to either slow down or capture the stormwater before it gets into the system.
Now you just built some huge tunnel, didn't you?
Yeah, there's one tunnel we did. It resulted in a extra force main between one of our main pump stations and our Lime plant that's located just south of the city in the county. That was one tunnel we put in. That specific purpose there was for a redundant force main, so we have 2 force mains and more capacity.
What's a force main?
Force main is the pipe that comes out from a pump station. So you have a pump station, it pumps it into a pipe, that's called a force main. In this case, it pumps it to our Lime treatment plant, where we can treat the water. So the more we can pump, the less will go out to River to Pear. So we put a second force main in, gives the pump station more capacity, allows us to send more flow to treatment.
And this is just the first of the tunnels that you're
First
building.
of many. That's not one of the bigger parts of the program. The bigger part of the program is tunnels that actually store flows. The biggest one is down River to Pear. It's about a 30-foot diameter tunnel, 9 miles long, that will go under River to Pear from near the Mississippi River up to where the tubes come out from Forest Park, where River to Pear is under Forest Park. That will be one of the largest ones. And its main purpose will be when we have the overflows, and instead of discharging the River to Pear, it will go in the tunnel, we'll hold it. When the storm's over, we'll pump it through the treatment plant and treat it.
Mm-hmm. There, a few years ago, there was a term that came to public use called impervious surfaces.
Yes, sir.
Just talk a little bit about what's happened to St. Louis County, say, over the last 50 years, and why so much stormwater, instead of going into the ground, is going somewhere else.
It is development, and it's not just the county. Obviously, the city has the same issue. When you build on a property, when you roll it and compact it so it's more firm, it's harder for water to go through. Or when you build impervious areas, those are rooftops, driveways, sidewalks, water hits that and immediately runs off. And so you've got two impacts. One, it doesn't soak in, so you've got more running off. And the other part is it moves faster. There's really two components to the problem. So you can imagine the faster water can get to a point from multiple sources, that causes a problem. And then when you've got more water coming anyway because of the impervious area, it's kind of a double hit. And that's what causes the problem with the stormwater coming through. It's the impervious areas that cause the runoff. It causes water to run off differently than it did when the property was undeveloped and it was just grasslands or trees or something like that.
So like these huge parking lots where water used to actually go down into the ground, now that it's covered, that water has to go somewhere.
True. Now, if you build one now, we do make you put facilities in so that it mimics the property, the characteristics prior to the facility being built. There are detention basins that require to be built. Also, we're looking at the water quality of the runoff. So that stormwater can take pollutants off of a parking lot, for instance. And so there are other things you can put in a parking lot, whether it's rain gardens or green space. There is a pervious pavement you can use in some places to allow the water to soak in the ground. So there are regulations right now that are put in place that if you develop today, all of those areas you're supposed to address it so that the water leaving your property is the same as before you developed it. And those are the restrictions that are in place now.
And this is an engineering issue then?
True, yes. Yeah, it is an engineering issue.
So in short, for people to visualize this, when they're driving around and they see like these huge ponds that are next to these wonderful, commercial buildings, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
It's not really a pond. This is a place to store excess water, right?
Correct, yes. And some that you can't see. Some they will actually still bury pipes under the parking lots in order to store water. Or if you possibly can, and some of those ponds are actually made to not only hold the water, but try and let it soak in the ground and never be released. They're all designed a little bit differently depending on the development.
But eventually, a lot of this water does move down into your system, right?
Yes, it does, yeah.
And then, but that water does not go through treatment, does it, or does it?
Well, sometimes some of the green infrastructure will provide some treatment, like the rain gardens or the basins. But as a rule, there really isn't any treatment that goes with it. It's pretty much what it fell on the ground is what comes out from the property.
So eventually it hits the Mississippi and out to the Gulf
Yes.
of Mexico.
Yes.
Too bad we can't get that to California.
I used to work with a gentleman one day when we had, one time before I worked with the district, who we had the flood in the Mississippi River. And he said, well, we should just get a canal from the Mississippi River to Arizona. We'll take care of the water problem on the West Coast with whenever we have floods.
I had suggested, there was some politician sitting here, and one time I just said, well, why don't we just build like a national water grid? And I was like, oh. And I just said it, and it's like, well, yeah, why don't we build a, that way all this stormwater you're talking about can have some useful life.
Yeah, I would, the way things are going now, I think us in St. Louis, we're pretty water rich and pretty lucky that way. I think.
Yeah, we are.
I don't know, I'd hesitate a little bit to give one of a real good resource we have that's both for recreation and commerce as well, if you think about the port issue and stuff. So
that's what the politicians said.
It was. Well, maybe I'm learning my job then. So
all right. So you're building all this infrastructure, and it costs money.
Yes.
And so you're going to be changing your rates. How does the rate get decided for MSD?
We have a rate commission consisting of 15 organizations that represent the area. and they select a rate commissioner. So those 15 individuals will hear our rate proposal. They'll evaluate it.
You make the proposal to them.
Staff makes the proposal to the rate commission.
Right.
They review it. Then our rate commission makes a recommendation to our board of trustees, who will also review it, and then they'll form a final decision as to where we go.
And so it is the board of trustees that makes the final decision?
The final decision is with our board of trustees.
And is there a vote on that, or that's the board makes the decision and that's the price?
If we just set rates for wastewater, that can just be done by the rate commission and the board. If we need to, if part of that funding consists of bonding, then we have to go to the voters to find out whether or not they would vote for bonding. In the case of stormwater, especially since the last ruling from the Supreme Court, any kind of changes we have in stormwater will require a vote of the people to change the way we do stormwater.
And you are going to be going to the Missouri voters?
Yes, right now.
Sometime soon.
Yeah, our proposal, it will be in calendar 2016. There will be a vote on whether or not to use bonding to pay for the wastewater program, and there will be a vote of some kind on how we might want to change the way we collect revenues for stormwater.
Now, I had, this is on your website, and it shows you have a with bonding financing and without bond, with no bond financing, the various prices over FY fiscal year 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. In, as you said, in 16, we're looking at $40.72. And then it goes to 44, then 49, 54, and then $60, all if the public passes the bond.
Yes, sir.
But if they don't, then it's 40, 44, then it jumps to 73, 83, and $96 a month.
Yes.
Okay, and so what's the difference between the bond and not having the bond money?
It's a decision folks have to make. It's kind of like if you're going to buy a big car or a big house. So if the voters authorize $900 million worth of additional authority these next 4 years, you're borrowing money and you're going to pay it back over time. That allows rates to be lower, and that's the column you read where in 2020 it'll be $60. If you decide, no, you know what, I don't want to borrow money, I will go ahead and pay the higher rates now, knowing that if I borrow money, for every dollar I borrow, I pay $3 back later. I'd rather pay for cash. It's a decision we leave to the ratepayers. It's an important decision. We have conversations every time we have these. Folks have different ideas about whether bonding is a good idea or not. It really comes later on in our program. Our program peaks around 2023 and then starts going down, the cost of the program, in about 8 years. So the decisions you make now will have an impact in the future. The more you bond now, the less rates can go down in the future because you got to pay back your loans. If you don't bond and pay a little more now, rates can go down faster in the future. And it's a decision we leave to the ratepayers as to what's the appropriate way to move forward.
Mm-hmm. You're going to spend a lot of money, are you, not to convince, but to educate the public as to their various options and what their vote is going to actually mean?
Yeah, there's a couple things we've done. When we gave the rate commission proposal to the rate commission, staff went out, myself and Lance Lacombe, and explained, had meetings and went to other meetings folks wanted to explain what we had proposed. The rate commission right now is holding hearings between now and the middle of June, various locations.
Just so people know, today we're sitting here talking, this is May the 28th, right?
No, May.
Oh, I'm sorry.
13th.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, yes. So today's May 13th.
No, today's May 14th.
12th.
12th?
12th.
I'm lost.
Yeah, today's May 12th. I'm sure today's
That's right.
May 12th.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. In any case, this is early May, and you're just getting started with this. So when people hear these numbers, and they'll be seeing this, weeks from now, they'll understand. Of course, now that I've screwed it up,
Okay.
maybe not.
Well, our first one
But-
was May 11th, which
Right.
was last, but then they do go through the end of June. The actual dates of the meetings are on our website, and you can see them under the rate commission. And that won't be the end of it. When we're done with that, our board of trustees will, in public, will consider the options. And probably more importantly, when those votes come in 2016, MSD will go out and do educational presentations. We won't advocate one or the other, it's up to the voters. But we will let them know what the results are if they vote yes and what the results are if they vote no. So we'll have a couple shots at the public in trying to help them understand this issue.
What have you, you probably talked to, like, the Post, Channel 2, 4, and 5 news departments. What's their attitude?
The answer is they know we have to do this. They want us to do it as cost effectively as possible, and believe me, MSD wants to do it as cost effectively as possible. We're constantly measuring ourselves. As a matter of fact, we put in the rate proposal, measuring our performance against other utilities to make sure we're being as cost effective as possible. And probably the one thing we're doing that we thought about but didn't think about in a lot of details, make sure whatever we do actually is in coordination with other things that are going in the area. Make sure that as other development of the area or other economic issues are going in the area, whatever work we're doing is done in concert with that. It gives us more bang in the buck for what we're trying to get, and also it helps the economy.
Got about 3 minutes left here.
Okay.
Is there anything that you want to say that we haven't covered that you think people need to know?
I think the big thing is we need you to pay attention. We do have things on our website. We do have the meetings with the public through our rate commission. We would ask you to please really consider what you believe is the right way to proceed, because it's going to impact your rates and what you pay for services, not just now, but in the future as well. Take a look at them. I would ask anybody, if after you've done that and you've heard all the public things we've offered, if you still have questions, contact MSD. If you hear a presentation and you want us to come see your neighborhood group, we'll come and do that. And we'll do a presentation for you to help you understand what we're proposing. We want everybody to be fully educated on what it is we're asking them to vote on, and so they make the right decision.
And hopefully they will be. I mean, I really hope that people do pay attention here, because it's a big decision. And bonding, well, you said that it even is going to go up. I mean, you're only up here in 2020. Is this price going to be 2021, 22, 23, even more than these numbers here on your website today?
Yeah, as we started the program, I mentioned the program kind of right now, it caps out at around 2023 or 2024, and rates will get plus or minus about $100 a month. You see the biggest one there is 96, and then it'll start going down. So that's what we're looking at. This is $1.5 billion of a total $4.7 billion we have to do. There will be in the next 4 years another large chunk of work we have to do. If we can get to that 2023, 2024, the work starts going down quite a bit, and we have the opportunity to start lowering rates.
Are we ever going to get back to $24? No.
Boy,
The
I hope we would, but yes, you're
yeah,
right.
the
The answer is
no.
no. No, it's
No,
not going. It's not going to be that. The system's pretty large.
And it costs to run. You've got
Yeah.
a lot of employees, a lot of infrastructure that has to be maintained.
It is difficult. If you've heard this before, MSD, as much as it is as amazing as it is, the St. Louis area has the 4th largest sewer system in the entire country, almost the same size as the city of Los Angeles. Nowhere close to the same populations, and that does represent unique challenges.
Yeah, you got your work cut out for you. Thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Brian Hoelscher. He's the Executive Director of the St. Louis Metropolitan Sewer District. It, as you just heard, is an enormously large system, the 4th largest in the United States. If you like what you heard here and want to show it to other people, go to YouTube. It'll be uploaded for you. Thanks. Bye.